Today we're going to talk about provider and team member setup in Eaglesoft. So from your home screen, you're going to go to List and Provider Staff. So if you have a new team member, we'll say you have a new doctor, you'll go ahead and select New. You'll get this screen here. So the ID, typically we usually just put the initials. You can put whatever you want. So we'll just say we're putting Doug Jones. And you'll go ahead and type in first and last name. The address, city, state, zip code isn't super important. This information here, birthday, these are things you can enter if you'd like. We do recommend putting a higher date in there. It's helpful for your records. The social number, if you want, it will mask the first 6 digits. Once you click off of that, the position is important, so we're going to go ahead and put dentist here. And we do want to talk about this area here. So collections go to. So if you are tracking the collections for that provider, if you're paying on collections, you're going to want to put self. That way you can run a report for the collections for Dr. Jones. If you're not tracking collections and maybe you're paying your provider hourly, you can put collections go to the practice owner or what. Provider on insurance, this is who is going to be signing that insurance form. So this is the provider on that insurance claim that provided the service. So typically that's listed as self as well for the provider, providing dentist. And then what fees does this provider use? Does this provider use the office's master standard fee? Or is this provider a specialist who comes in a couple of times a month and charges a different fee for extractions or implants, what have you? So you can create an actual fee schedule for different providers and you can attach them here. It's important, if this is indeed a provider, we're going to want to mark provider of services. They are active. Are they going to be clocking in and out and using the time clock? If so, you'll want to have this checked. We'll want to assign a color to this provider that we can view on the schedule. And use green. And we'll talk about that in another video, how that can be beneficial. If there's any notes you want to attach to this provider, you can attach those as well. Smart Doc. So every provider has their own Smart Doc. So if you want to scan in dental licenses, DEA cards, CPR cards, any kind of documentation you want to keep on record for that provider, you can do that. Hours, this is where you're going to go ahead and set up the office, the hours that the provider is working in the days, and we'll go through that in one moment. Identification will be important. So if this provider has their own federal tax ID, if they're an independent contractor, you can do that. You can place that there. Their DEA number, their national provider ID, and their license. You'll want to have those in there. If you're in network with any insurance companies or you take Medicaid and they want you to use a specific number on their claims for them, you can go ahead and enter that in there as well. The billing entity is going to be from the practice. So how the practice is billing out, if they have a specific license number, we'll enter that in there. The security profile. The first thing we really want to do when we're creating a new provider, as you can tell, everyone's going to get their own password. So we want at least 8 characters. This point, we don't need any special characters or a capital letter. You can use that if you'd like. The questions, you'll want to go ahead and have that provider create their questions and create their own answers. And now we can go through, if we'd like, we can check the security here. So the dentist, depending on his role in the practice or her role in the practice, would typically either be a clinical user, so they'll have access to everything within the clinical module. They can be an administrator as well. So maybe the owner of the practice, the administrator pretty much has access to everything within the system. So you'll want to take a close look at these here. You can look by security zone and see everything that's green is accessible. Anything that's red is blocked out. So you can, there are some default profiles set up, but if you need to modify those, you can use a default setting and then go through and double click and add things if you'd like them to have access, or double click on the green so they don't have access. So you can actually print out the security profile and kind of review that if you want. And I'll show you where that is in a moment. And then this is where you're going to set up the hours. So if you have a chair or a location that this doctor is going to be working out of, you can select it from here. You can also create a new one. So I can go here, select new, and create a Dr. Jones. Then what I can do is assign that right here to Dr. Jones, and I'll go ahead and put the working hours and days. So if he's not working on Mondays, we'll just uncheck that. Tuesdays, say he's working 9 to 5. Put a 9 in there. He is taking a lunch, but he's taking a lunch from 1 to 2 instead. Wednesday, we're working 12 to 5 with no lunch. Thursday, 8 to 5, he'll take a lunch from 12 to 1. And Friday, we're going to work 8 to 2 with no lunch. So that's how you're going to go ahead and set up. Now, if he works out of multiple chairs, you can certainly pick more than one chair, assign it, and then if you're going to apply changes also to that chair, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to assign that. You can save. So now you have set up a new provider. You can also set up custom hours. So if there's a week every year, perhaps that you're not going to be in the office, maybe you're going to a seminar, and that's pretty much the same every year, you can go ahead and set up custom hours as well. We'll talk about that in another video. So now we have Douglas Jones as a new dentist. Now you'll see on your list, anyone in bold means that they are an administrator. So that's why the difference in color. Now in your reports, one way to do it is look up Security Profile Master. And you can run a report for whichever security profile you want. And you can choose to run a report for all items that are allowed, blocked, or both. And you can preview that first. And that way you can kind of go through and see what the system has as defaults and know where you want to make your changes. It's just a little bit easier to view it that way. So that was just a quick video on how to add a provider. We'll talk next about how to add a team member. So we can hit new and we'll just say we have a new assistant. And we'll enter some initials here. This is going to be Brown. Go through here. Date. Position. We'll go ahead and write dental assistant. We don't have to worry about collections go to or provider on insurance for a dental assistant. The standard fee. So the dental assistant isn't a provider, so we're going to go ahead and mark staff member. We don't need to assign a color because staff members or team members don't actually show up on the schedule like the providers do. Again, if there's any documents we need to scan in, we can scan in documents or make any notes. Identification isn't necessary. We do want to assign a security profile and a password. Same thing. And then a security profile. So for this team member, he'll be a clinical user. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. So that's how you'll go ahead and enter team members into the software. Stay tuned for more videos.